Welcome, friends. Today I'm going to be talking about the idea which has gained a lot of popularity in recent years, which is the concept of twin flames. If you look on YouTube, it's all over the internet in different ways, and it promises the possibility of finding divine union with another being. We are all brought up with this concept of a perfect relationship, a perfect love. It's in our love stories, it's in our fairy tales. And at the heart of every human is this deep desire to be loved and to be nurtured. And obviously as a child, that is how we thrive, when we receive the love of our parents. But for most of us, this love that we hope to receive often falls short. And this is no blame to our parents. This is the nature of being in the society and the systems that we live in today. Our parents have many different responsibilities that they need to hold. They are often trying to manage their own emotional holes, desires and needs, alongside being a parent, often feeling overloaded, overwhelmed by the responsibilities of life. And with a growing number of single parents, making the job even harder. So it is no wonder that we all grow up with a yearning hole within us that we are looking to fill. And it is very alluring to believe that this can be found in a partner. We truly and honestly believe it. So today I want to share about my own experience of this journey of wanting to know love. And I will share a bit about my story. About 13 years ago, I was in a marriage, a 12-year-long marriage. And I realized that it was simply at this point a marriage of convenience. We had 2 young children. And my husband was earning the money to keep us afloat. We'd come to England from South Africa, so we were trying to make a new life in a new country with young children. And I was raising our children, being there for them. And I didn't believe in or desire to put them into school all day. That wasn't an option for me. But I knew that I wanted to know love, and that the marriage that I was in was not giving me that. It was convenient. It was not nurturing in the way that I was expecting a loving relationship to be. And so I knew that I wanted to know love in my life, and I spoke to my husband about this. And at the time, I had a Kundalini awakening through my body, and I was connecting to a much deeper level of my feminine energy. There was a lot of joy as my heart was opening. My sexuality was expanding as this energy was rising through my body. And I wanted to explore that and know that, and to go on this journey with another partner. with a partner, but my husband did not feel that he could meet me in this. And therefore we decided to separate. It was a very scary moment for me to even discuss this with him, because all of my survival fears came up and how I would manage to hold my children and find a way for us to survive financially at the same time. And it took about 3 years for me to make a full transition to moving out of our home that we had together and standing on my own. And at the time I had asked Spirit to show me the nature of love, that I wanted to know it deeply and intimately. And I wanted to go on that journey. So 13 years later, I have had many conscious partnerships. And the first one I really believed was my twin flame. I was working deeply with these energies and the feminine at the time, and I was told that we can expect to meet a partner that would be our twin flame. But what I've come to see is that the strong connection that happens in conscious relationships are when we choose to go on the path of love, we choose to enter into relationships consciously and to work with our partners, to look at our shadows, to see how we can grow together and expand together. And these are very powerful relationships, because what we start to see is that all relationships are simply a mirror of our own shadows, parts of us that we need to integrate. So the strong attraction that we have for a partner, the polarity is really the aspect in the other that we need to integrate, and therefore there is a strong magnetic attraction to them, as the gap or the hole in us seeks to fill itself through what we perceive the other has. And when we work consciously with this process, we come to see that those triggers that our partners trigger in us are simply our own shadow. It's where our work lies. When we take that work deeply into ourselves and we alchemize it, then we often move on from the relationship. The relationship ends and we integrate that aspect, and then we move on, and the next partner would be the next layer of shadow that needs to be integrated and worked upon. Now, obviously, when we first meet someone, these shadows haven't arisen yet. So the initial feeling, possibly the first 6 months, can feel really exhilarating, as we feel that, this person is everything we're looking for. We feel they are our twin flame, and this is the person we've been looking for. And it does feel exquisite. But more than not, these shadows will start to present themselves and difficulties will arise, and then our work will come into play as we integrate. And the more that we can really be open to feeling, to open our hearts to allowing the other in, and allowing them to be a reflection for us to look at ourselves, the more that we can do that, the more we can benefit from the relationship and the more that we can grow. Now, within these relationships, because of the intensity, it can feel like you are in a fire. And the impulse is to want to leave, to want to cut off, to want to run away. And that is because they are hitting the most raw chords within you. Your shadow aspects, the deepest hidden aspects of yourself, are being triggered. And because these are suppressed aspects that contain pain within them, and you have, up until this point, spent your whole life suppressing that, whether you know it or not, it's been in your psyche, it's been suppressed, so that you don't need to feel the pain underneath it. When they get triggered, the automatic reaction is, this isn't safe, I need to run away, I need to leave. Now obviously I'm not talking about physical violence here, I'm talking about emotional triggers. If you are in a situation with any physical violence, you should not be in that situation, you should leave immediately. So I'm talking about emotional triggers here, when it feels difficult to stay present to the emotion that is being triggered, and it can feel like sitting in a fire because every part of you wants to run. It doesn't feel safe. The challenge here is to be able to stay present, to stay in the flames, because it is that intensity, that heat, that will start to burn up the shadow. It will alchemize it. So the challenge, as I say, is to stay present with the difficult feelings, to breathe into it, to find a safe place within your body that you can center in and simply breathe and remind yourself that you are safe, you are present, and you are the conscious awareness, the adult that is staying present with those shadow parts, which I often call our child parts. The parts that need to come back into love, that need to be integrated. So you are the adult, you are the parent, holding a point for those children, shadow aspects, to come back to be loved by you. You are self-parenting. So you stay present, you feel into your body, you feel into your heart. You feel into those painful aspects. What do they need? How can you love them? How can you see how they want to be integrated within you? And if they are parts of your childhood experience, it's important to know that as a child you didn't have the skills that you have now. So your child did the best it could to cope at that time with that situation. But now that you are older, you are no longer a child. You are an adult. You know better. So as an adult, you can sit in this expanded place with the difficult feelings, and you can begin to integrate them and allow them to become a part of you, to come back into the love that you are. And by bringing these parts back in and alchemizing them, you start to grow the light within you, the space within you to breathe, to be at ease, to expand. And this is what it is to grow in love, to grow in the capacity to love. It's to be with a heart that's breaking, a heart that's cracking. Because what that is simply a shedding of a skin so that your heart can grow bigger. And the more that we can stay present to heartbreak and to feel the shadow aspects beneath it, to feel those child parts that need to come back into love, the more that we can do that, the more that our capacity to love grows, our heart grows stronger, our heart muscle grows stronger and expands. And the analogy that I always come back to, because it is so powerful, is the image of Christ on the cross. Because Christ, Jesus Christ, was a pure commitment to be love. In fact, he said, forget all the commandments, just love one another. Love one another. So his whole life came down to that one word, love. And he committed himself to love so fully that there was nothing that could make him abandon that commitment. And even at that point where he was being nailed to the cross by people, even at that moment, he didn't abandon love. He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He forgave the people who were nailing him to the cross. Even in that moment when he could have gone into rage, gone into victimhood, gone into grief, he chose to focus on love and to expand his heart even further, to the point that he was resurrected like the phoenix. And that is the power of what it is to stay present to the heart crack, to the heartbreak, and allow it to expand you even further as the wings of love unfurl and open to embrace even those that would nail you to the cross. Even those have a place in the heart of love. So let's just take a moment to breathe into that, to breathe into our hearts, and to feel that Christ love within our hearts. And to feel the capacity of our hearts to expand to love, to receive anything that comes at us as simply something that's needing to come back to love, to the heart of love, to be integrated. And let us know our hearts as the strongest force in the universe. The force that can transmute anything. Anything. Nothing is stronger than this heart. Nothing. So center in your heart now. Just allowing the light of the divine to enter through your crown and to drop into the cup of your heart and fill it. And bless this beautiful heart, this machine of transformation and transmutation for all the sorrows of the world, for all your sorrows and suffering. The alchemical cauldron where all shadow, all children can come back to love. All aspects of yourself can be loved by you. And there's no part of you that cannot be received in this place. And this is the true source of love. It is only and ever found within us. And so we give thanks for all our relationships that are that mirror to the parts of us that need to come home. But let us not mistake our relationships for love. Our relationships are the mirror for the love that is within us and can only be within us, within this point that radiates out as love. We are the source of love. So let us give thanks for our relationships that have taught us to open to love. open our hearts, to open our bodies, to open our minds, to let love in. The love of the divine, the love that we are, that has always been there, that is infinite, that is eternal.